April 10th, 2018, Morgan Township meeting. If I can get a roll call, please.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
All present.
Okay, can I entertain a motion for the 2 sets of minutes?
3 sets.
Three sets.
All right, I'll make a motion to
Correct.
accept the minutes from the workshop meeting for the firehouse expansion from March 27th, 2018 is written.
I'll second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the Morgan Township Board of Trustee meeting also on March 27th, 2018 as written.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the emergency meeting, the Morgan Township Board of Trustees held on March 31st, 2018 to discuss the purchase of a new tar distributor for the road crew to do road maintenance. That was held on March 31st, 2018 as written.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, entertain a motion to do the warrants.
I'll make a motion to accept the warrants dated 3/28/2018 through 4/10/2018. Warrant number 232-2018 through
It's at the bottom.
278-2018 and warrant number 8471 through 8505 for a total of $90,129.80.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, and at this time, is there anyone from the audience have anything they'd like to bring up and speak about tonight? Yes, sir. Podium.
I'm Mike Baum. I wanted to see if I could get a copy of the letter that the county prosecutor sent Ed Dietz 3 years ago regarding Art Balfe holding concealed carry classes at his house.
Yes, sir.
And I'm also curious, who was in charge of overseeing what Ed Dietz was doing in 2015?
That would be
you?
myself, Nancy Poe, and Darrell Huff at that time.
Were you aware of that letter?
Not until just recently, but I do owe you an apology for that letter because, one, I was also lied to myself. I was told that
feel like I got the screws turned.
it was totally legal, and then with what's going on right now, I really can't even go after him because I believe Tom talked to you.
Yeah.
We're redoing that, so all that is on hold right now.
What is the reason that's all on hold? What are I guess there are gaps in the zoning resolution. I mean, what kind of gaps are these gaps that are going to be filled and allow Art to do what he's been doing?
I took office 8 years ago. I'll kind of go back and give a little history so you can see where it was. A lot of these businesses that are in Morgan Township were here even when I became a trustee.
But I've got a copy of the last land survey that was done that I could find in 2009 that said Art had a civil surveying business, not a gun range or.
You're correct.
And I mean, if he's going to be doing this, can we at least ask for proof of insurance in case somebody gets hit at my house? Because my wife works for Cincinnati Insurance Company, who I'm insured through, and she's approached them about Art holding the concealed carry classes over there. And they said if one of their insureds were doing that, they would be dropped. So if somebody gets hit at my house, he's not going to be insured.
I'm not gonna disagree with that. But I'll kinda give you the history. I'll go back and finish that. In fact, even Darrell Huff was here when we done that. But there's been many businesses, small businesses in Morgan Township. If I had to guess right now, I'd say probably 300 to 600 in Morgan Township that are here. Are they legal? Probably not. There's some that are grandfathered. There's some that have been here a long time. But if you have to do it one way or the other, you have to go after them all. But if you spot, like you only go after this one because there was a complaint, that's unconstitutional according to the lawyer, which it took me a while before I got to get a lawyer that was good and knows what he's doing. And he said that's unconstitutional. Well, here's the thing. Anyone that, and I know this, I'll tell you how I know this. I work over in Hanover Township, family-owned business, and we had a group came after us. We had everything legal. We were on business property. We were here. But they kept harassing us. We ended up suing the county. We won. The lawyer that we got now is also the lawyer here, and he told us, you can't do that. You can't, one, if people come after you, you have the right to know who says something about you. Well, they wouldn't even tell us. There was a lot of different things. But you can't go after this one, but step over 8 to get there. It's unconstitutional. Well, here's the problem. For so long, we've done it a certain way. If you start going after one, but you're not going after the other 300, we're gonna lose all the township money. We're gonna lose. So my job up here is to protect that. Hey, we've gotta change this, we gotta do this, and we gotta do it. We either gotta change it to where they're legal here, or we have to go after all of them.
How long is it gonna take before there's a resolution to all of that?
I'd say you'd be lucky if a year or 2 years to
So
do
I'm-
it and to do it right.
So I might have to deal with this for another 2 years before there's resolution?
Yes, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, and were you wronged? Yes, you were. But I was also told myself that according to the prosecutor, everything was legal.
Which it wasn't.
It wasn't. And now that we found the documents, it's like, and then of course, we found it after we put all this on hold and we started doing this and trying to make everything right.
I just think that's kinda
I know, I'm in a
not right
catch-22.
to have to wait 2 years when I've already put up with it for 3. You know, my kids got into showing sheep at the county fairs, state fairs. I got sheep in the backyard that go absolutely bonkers when this is going on next to my house. I mean, you know, and and after getting the short end of the stick 3 years ago, you're gonna tell me I gotta wait 2 more years? You know?
How often does he hold classes?
It's not that often, but, I mean, you go to work 10 hours a day and come home and wanna relax on a Monday night, Wednesday night, and I have to listen to 4 hours of shooting, 15 people next to my house. I mean, I wouldn't care, I know we live out here in the country and people shoot guns. I own guns. But I shouldn't have to listen to 15 to 20 people next to my house doing this. I mean, I would think, for the short term, can we at least find out if he's got insurance for a concealed carry business?
We can do that.
We can look into it. I don't know what we can legally do on it, but we can look into it.
Because I think if somebody called his insurance company and, hey, he's holding concealed carry classes at his house, is he covered? Plus, he's got the runway right there. I mean, I think that's a public runway, isn't it?
I think it's private.
Is it?
As far as I know, that's private. But now he may have I know there's other insurances you can get. George Lang does it for special for shooting.
Riders on your
Now, I
policy.
don't know if that's on his homeowners or if that's his, I know you can get that, cause
I think if his
I am-
insurance knew 15 people were coming over shooting at his house, they'd drop him.
unless he has special insurance on top of it.
I doubt it.
I do not know.
Yeah, I mean, he's just not holding classes often enough to justify paying for that.
Cause I know I'm also an NRA shotgun instructor. My daughter was, cause my kid shot. I know you could get all that, but I've always done it at the gun ranges and the different things
Right.
where didn't need it.
I mean, I question the safety of what's going on over there. I've got a picture on my phone of a ricochet bullet hole in our family farm building. And, I don't know, it's probably been 5, 6 years ago deer hunting. There was a deer running in between Art and the back of my mom and dad's house, and Art drew up on it, and I had to put his gun down so he didn't, with my mom and dad's house right in the background, and Art taught hunter safety classes. I quit deer hunting, that's probably a year after that, because I drew my gun up on Art, who was sitting in a cedar tree with no hunter orange on, waving a cedar tree branch at me. I mean, and this is a guy who teaches hunter safety classes, and now he's teaching concealed carry classes next to my house. I personally don't feel real safe when he holds these.
I understand that. I do know, like with the bullet hole, did you turn that over into the cops, the police?
Nah, they seem to be useless too. I mean,
Well, once, I know they can't do anything, but they are responsible for every bullet, even whether it ricochets or not. And once that goes into your property, that's when you need to call and you need to make that police report.
right.
Because I don't have jurisdiction on that, but I know they do in that particular circumstance.
I mean, I don't know. It's just been my experience. They don't do anything. So,
But that builds your case as well.
yeah. But that's about all I've got. I think it's just, after 3 years of getting screwed over, another 2 seems pretty unfair.
I understand that, and I apologize for what happened there, but I too got told one way, and it was not that way.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, Mike, could you send me an email? We need a public records request for that.
Okay.
Just something in writing that you're requesting it, so,
Okay.
and then I can go ahead and get that to you.
That'll work.
Okay?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And is it Pam?
My name is Pam Hensley, and I live at the corner of Schraden Road and State Line Road. Our address is 7946 Schraden Road. Since our home is near the corner of that intersection, there has been an ongoing issue on State Line Road that vehicles continue to travel at a high rate of speed, to the point where when they hit the little hill at State Line and Schraden, they're going airborne. Their wheels leave the ground. In the meantime, residents are out walking their dogs, jogging, riding bikes, children with them, crossing the road to retrieve their mail, and the drivers make no attempt to even slow down or acknowledge that the people are on the road. Some vehicles are going at such a high rate of speed, again, that their wheels leave the ground at the corner of State Line and Schraden. There are some new homes that have been or are in the process of being built on State Line Road, and most of them have small children. And one family has children that actually cross the road to go over to their grandparents' home every day after school in the area between Hillman Road and Okeanedarsburg Road. There are hidden drives going both ways in that particular area. And the road is too narrow because of the valley in the road. that two cars cannot pass, so they stop at the top of the hill sometimes and wait till a car comes through, whoever had the right-of-way or yields the right-of-way. With the oncoming traffic, it causes an issue where then there's a bottleneck at the driveways and people can't get in or out. And again, this is usually during the rush hour in the morning and in the evening. We're asking, as many families are concerned on this issue, but they were unable to attend tonight due to other family commitments, that they're asking at this particular meeting for someone to help us to get signs put up, either speed limit signs, which doesn't always work because they think they've got the right to travel 55 miles per hour on this road, and or hidden driveway signs or bus stop ahead in the blind areas where the driveways are hidden, something, because these people are trying to make decisions on what schools to put their children in because they're in parochial schools right now, and they like the Ross school system, but they said because of the buses being so dangerous to cross the road to get picked up of a morning and dropped off in the afternoon, they're really reconsidering possibly not even putting them in the Ross school system. So I'm just asking for some help on this, me and the residents in my area.
So you
Thank
believe
you.
it should be less than 55, because if it's unmarked, that's what the speed limit is.
Absolutely. I mean, I would gladly meet you guys out there to show you the areas that I'm speaking of. But there's blind spots. Some of the area has got deep drop-offs where the new people have found that out the hard way and literally got their cars stuck and had to call a wrecker to get them out because they got over for a car and got over a little too far and fell off into a deep drop-off due to the construction, all the rain we've had, washouts, and several things. So, and again, this has not been just this year, it's been an ongoing issue. But no one has taken the initial step to come and ask a trustee for help.
Hey,
And-
Rob, what was that, what did we change the Bay Road speed limit sign to? Did we change that to 40?
35.
35.
That was, now what can be done to help her here is the Board of Trustees has to pass a resolution
Right.
asking the county commissioners to do a speed study on that. The county then will come out, they'll put traffic counters down to count the number of cars that travel that section of roadway. And they'll, count the number of homes, they'll take the narrowness of the road into consideration and the number of homes, put that together in a survey that they do, they fill out, send that to ODOT, because even though it's a township road, well, actually, that section of road is actually Franklin County's section of road that they maintain. And then there's a little piece from Hillman to Schraden that is ours to maintain, and then it's Franklin County's again until you get to the end of the farm field.
Right.
And then it's ours again, clear to the dead end of state line.
You can tell by the way the road is
Cap up.
taken care of.
So
Thank you.
how about a history,
Smooth
how about an
potholes.
accident history of that section of road? Can we include
actually,
that too?
I have a thing back there because of the sign grant that I'm working on right now. It has township history, but right now there is nothing that's on State Line Road of accident history. Now, that could be just the county sheriff deputy might have coded it wrong, might have coded it on Schraden Road or Schaumling Road instead of State Line or something.
Maybe if we pick up the accident frequency off Schraden and attribute it to that area, anything in that area is gonna be cumulative to
It
what
could help.
what Pam's talking
Now,
about.
we can go and ask for the speed study by the county and try to get a speed limit put up there.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact we could put it on our section of road, so that little bitty short piece, we could probably get it done there, but I don't know how to go about on the part that Franklin County takes care of. Because being it's bad enough being a two jurisdictional road with, two townships, but now we're talking two counties, two
Two
townships,
states.
and two states. I don't know how that works, but maybe the engineer's office, the Butler County Engineer's Office can help us on that, and get some sort of guidance from them or from ODOT on how to get that lowered. Because I do know that that particular valley you're talking there, that's Franklin County, they don't do anything to help out, and sometimes we even have to take our arm mower to trim the trees back, cause they wait till, I mean, their trees are hanging out into the road.
We've actually fixed that section of road a few times because they don't do it.
But especially
tell.
between Schraden Road and where we pick up again at the end of Jim Booker's field, this past, well, just a little as 2 weeks ago, the road was just like a bomb went off, because
Yeah.
the potholes were horrendous. Franklin County went all around fixing all the potholes, but they did nothing there, so we took some of our labor and material and went and fixed those potholes, because Morgan Township residents were complaining. I instructed them, I said, call Franklin County. Everybody called Franklin County, but still nothing happened, so
No.
we went and fixed them.
We're at the end of the list on that. I mean, it has to get to the point where someone wrecks, runs off the road, and literally goes up to the Franklin County building and says, what do we have to do to get our roads patched?
No, the only other thing I know is if somebody, I'm willing to go out to a Franklin County Commissioners meeting, I'll find out when they are, but, because I know Bob Copeland and I, about 8 or 9 years ago, we went to a Franklin County Commissioners meeting and put a proposal to them that their section of road that they're responsible for maintaining, we would split the cost half with them to bring that up to par what ours is, and they said no. They said, we're gonna pay for half of it, we're willing to pay for half of it to bring it up to par, to widen it a little bit, put good blacktop and stuff, and they still said no, because they said, well, if we do that there, we've gotta do it all over the county, and we've got 385 miles, that,
They still got a gravel road right, I can't think of the name of it, right down from there too, correct?
yeah, that's, Hillman Road.
Hillman.
What about just for the signage part of it? I mean, yeah, gosh, it would be great to get the road widened, but I'm thinking just out of desperation, literally right now with summer coming, it's only gonna get busier with people out.
I
in
don't
the
think
nice weather.
the signs aren't any problem. I think we can manage that fairly quickly with a resolution proposal to take the action, if I'm not mistaken.
Which signs are you talking about?
Speed limit signs.
No, you can put 55-mile-an-hour signs up.
Well, if we do the research, we
The speed
send
study.
the application up to Butler County, and then let them flow that to ODOT, and then just like we did in the other locations, and that's our process. I don't see any reason why not to do
The thing that's gonna help
that.
us in that, it is because of the narrowness, not being wide enough for a double yellow line.
Right.
Because basically, 2 cars can pass, but technically it's a 1-lane road, because it's not wide enough for white lines or yellow lines, so it's considered a 1-lane road, and you're supposed to give and take when you go down it. So,
But new people out there don't realize that. They think that
Correct.
it's still probably a 2-lane road when they decide to go down it.
right,
Hey, Rob, can we put our speed signs out there just to kind of get a history? See
yeah,
what
we
kind of,
could do that.
see what kind of speed limit or
Well,
speeds are.
and we used to have, he was great, a deputy sheriff or a county sheriff on duty out there that patrolled the area.
For
Well,
Butler
I
County?
think
That would've been
I think
Mike
we had to
Owens, and
pay
he-
for him, because I've lived out there 60 years.
That would
And
be Darren Rhodes.
it was
and,
great.
No, that was Mike Goins. Mike Goins was, he was the best Butler County Sheriff Deputy we've ever had, and he would find places to catch people doing stuff, and, I mean, he was good.
Yeah,
Moneymaker.
yeah, I think
That's
he
why
made
he's
his
Oxford
quota
Township
real quick in the
police
first
chief now.
month, yes.
Yeah, he's Oxford Township's police chief now, so
Oh,
he was,
too bad.
he was good, so.
Yeah, and I know that costs money when you get a special patrol like that, but there was a lot of nonsense that was going on then and as there is now. And now, when he was there, it got controlled, but now that it's not being patrolled, it's gotten out of hand. But I'm just asking for some safety to be added in for the road. So then, what's the process as far as how long, this could take a couple months, 3 months, 4 months? For the
Yeah, 'cause
speed
basically
study
we have to
and-
do a resolution, and it goes to either the commissioners or is it the
It
engineer's
goes
office?
straight to, you can send it to the county engineer's office. The
Yep.
county engineer's office does it, and then once they do it, and it's probably about a 2 to 3 months time frame.
Okay.
By the time, they can pass the resolution tonight, it'll be sent off to them this week. They'll get it, and they go and they actually put traffic counters out to count the number of cars that go up and down the road. They do a survey of it, so they have to give them a couple weeks to do that, put the report together, send it to Columbus, and however long it takes Columbus to review it. But I think the Bay Road was only like 2 or 3 months, and we had it back, and
Wow.
when they sent it back that you can put 35-mile-an-hour speed limit signs up and put them up according to the traffic manual, how you're supposed to put them up, and that's what we did on Bay Road, which Bay Road
Yeah.
is pretty similar to what
Yes, it is.
State Line is.
Yes.
And then California just got done, but that took, I wanna say 3 to 4.
They just put sensors out today, they have it going further down. They're out, I just came across them,
Well-
Andrewsburg to Dwyer. So they must be going on down.
You mean with the speed limit signs?
Well, yeah, they're doing a speed study, so I think.
Yeah, they're doing the
Oh,
speed.
goodness.
That's successful.
Yeah, I got that from Okeechobee to the Hamilton County line, they
Yeah.
moved it down to 45.
Working the other way.
But it took them, I wanna say 3 to 4 months and that's a county road, so they just put the signs up, didn't even tell us, and then have to see the sign, it's like, hey, they got it done. But
Well,
yeah.
you can deal with it if you know that there's something coming to help.
So I don't have a problem making a motion to do it.
Go ahead.
All right, well, I will make a motion that go from Okeechobee to Schraden Road on State Line to do a speed study.
I'll
Second.
Second it.
Mr. Updike?
Yes,
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Actually, you probably want to take it to Cox Road because that's where a lot of the cars are coming past that road up our way where they actually leave the ground line, because it's a straight stretch,
If you're gonna do it, you really need to do it from Okeechobee all the way to Schaumling Road.
or Shanling, yeah.
That whole section, need to try to get it all lowered, because, that's one of the issues that the people that live back the dead end of State Line was having with the intersection of Schaumling Road is how fast people were coming down Schaumling Road and making that left-hand turn, or how
Right
fast
hand.
they's coming southbound on State Line, making the left-hand turn on the Schaumling
Yes.
and cutting the curve, that it all kind of plays in, so.
all right, well, I will amend my motion to Shanling Road.
And sir, I would like to personally thank you. All the people that are moving out there have made comments this winter and the previous winter of how great you guys keep our roads in the wintertime when it snows.
Thank you.
They're very impressed. They said they get better road service out here than they did in town. So, thank you.
Good job, Rob. Second it.
Is there a second on my?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Updike?
Yes,
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Okay, the amended resolution has passed.
thank you. And did you wanna look in on any other signs possibly putting on that road while you're getting ready to do that grant?
Yeah, because if I can, actually, that was on part of my report, so I'll bring that up when I do my reports.
Okay. Anyone else from the audience tonight? Ms. Poe? Didn't know there was any trouble.
Well, there
Trouble come
is.
back in town, that's what happened.
That's right. I'm back in town. Uh-huh.
She'd been gone for, what, 8 months, 6 months?
No, not quite that long, no. I come back home and my neighbor's house, somebody tried to attempt to break into the house across the street from me last night. And I was wondering if you guys had any information on that type of thing. Steve, that lives across the road from me, his wife is very ill and so forth. And it started about 2:30 in the morning. I was not witness to that part, but then about 4, I guess it was the police that came. There was no lights, but they were driving up and down Rebecca Ridge and on that short straight stretch of Lehigh, shining their lights into the yard. So I assumed that was the police. But we never saw any red lights or anything like that. My neighbor next door, Fisher's, called me today and asked me what's going on, and I said, all I can tell you is I was walking around the house making sure all the doors were locked, and the windows were locked. So I don't know if this is a one-time problem or if we've got somebody working the neighborhood. But I wanted to come up and ask if you gentlemen had any information about it, since you're with the sheriff's department, Brett.
I haven't heard anything lately. I know they're out here from time to time. There's more that goes on than what even I hear and we hear. But I have not heard anything lately.
Okay, well, now you're on notice that something's going on. straight stretch. And if it was a police car that came last night, which I think it probably was, they didn't go down as far as the trailer park. And they didn't go down as far as, where the old, milking building is, the old milking parlor, which was a grocery store at some one time. They were just working, Robinson there, Rebecca Ridge, excuse me, and, down to the Robinson, about that area. In other words, they were just back and forth between about 6 houses on Lehigh the whole time, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Phil Sackenheim. I'm with Southwest Regional Water District. I just wanted to come tonight, kind of update you guys on goings-on around the district, just as a hopefully a friendly gesture. Let you know that our general manager, Tom Yeager, has decided to retire, and I believe you probably know Sue Vance from Butler County. She has been hired by our Board of Trustees to become the new general manager. Well, let's see, what else I've got here. We have, specific to Morgan Township, I'm sure you're aware of a number of these projects that have happened over the last few years. We had a Schraden Road water main replacement project that we put in.
Yes.
We did Cincinnati Brookville Road, from Chapel to, Shandon. We just completed, other than restoration, Race Lane. We have, over in Ross Township, we have our Lehigh Road tank, which is near 748. We raised that tank 7 feet so that it would float with our Chapel Road tank. So those 2 tank zones now are equal and they float together, and it's from a water guy perspective, it's really a cool thing, kind of a geeky thing. But in order to make that work, we installed a connection at Lehigh Road and Bell Road. So if you saw that construction going on there.
That increased the pressure as well?
It did not, it increased the pressure for those immediate houses near Lehigh Road. It might have increased it just a couple of pounds, nothing that they would have really noticed. But hydraulically speaking, it helps us get more water this direction. So it's a good thing. And upcoming, probably still this year, we will do a project on State Route 748, beginning at Morgan Ross Road and continuing south down to the curves roughly around the Bell Road area. So all of those areas were where we had old water mains, they were low pressure water mains, they're glue joint, lots of leaks. We've put in ductile iron because the quotes have come in very well. So we're excited about those projects, getting those in and hopefully not having to revisit them for leaks or anything in the very near future.
Are we still gonna do like we did before, where we have the ability to help put hydrants and all that in?
This project on 748, there's actually a line that feeds it that's 4-inch that prevents fire flow. So you weren't notified about that ahead of time, I'm assuming, because it wouldn't help to put fire hydrants on it.
But here's my question. If you're replacing that line, are you going to 6-inch or above?
That one is 6-inch, yes. But a line feeding that line is 4-inch.
But I would still rather put these in while you're doing it and have the ability to, because it's so
Okay.
much cheaper, even though we would know we couldn't use them for fire flow. But as soon as they replace that other line that makes it to it, now they are.
Yeah, no.
And it'd be much cheaper doing it now than it will to go back later.
Yeah, I can check with our engineer and see if we have that capability.
Because I think anytime you replace and we're going to that size,
Correct.
that's a no-brainer, because I think what we paid last time was an average 1,800 or 1,500 for the hydrants with
That'd be
the
about
grants
right.
we got,
Yeah,
as opposed to the $5,000 just for the cost of the hydrant.
correct.
So, yeah.
I can go back and I'll check with our engineer, who is in charge of that job, and see what's up with that, and I'll get back with you.
If you will, contact
Mr.
Chief
Gallo?
Clerk.
Is it Tom Bucket?
Tom Puckett, either Tom or Neil, one of the two.
Tell me,
Okay.
give me a shout.
Okay, I can do that. And then something of hopefully interest to the fire department is I was hoping to have it done already, but it's not. But I'm hoping to put together a fire hydrant training program for the fire departments. We are very close to getting a cutaway fire hydrant that shows the actual function, because they kind of operate non-intuitively. And we want to talk about water hammer, and we also are working on an online mapping system so that a fireman with a handheld device could even navigate right to the nearest hydrant. So we're hoping to get that all rolled out. It looks like it'll probably be this summer, but I'll definitely be getting in touch with you about that. And then one last thing that I had was in 2014, the district did put together a master plan. Do you know if you received a copy of that?
I have not.
Okay, then if you would like one, I would like to leave this with you. It is our copy, or is a copy of our master plan. What's missing from it is a lot of maps, but they're not really all that necessary to you. What I did put in here, there was a copy of a map specific to Morgan Township that highlights some of the things talked about in here. So I would leave that with you, and I really don't want to take up any more of your time.
One question, Bill. When is that restoration process going to begin on the pipeline to finish off the jobs?
Hopefully soon, after it dries up a little bit. I can check with them about that.
Still the same Likens, still the same contractor, Likens?
Was it Likens on that job?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, they love doing restoration because that's where they make all their money, right? So,
All right.
right.
Checking.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so I can check with that and make sure. It's been so wet, I know that they haven't been doing it, but even the lack of restoration has
How
kind of.
much can grass seed and straw cost, though?
Oh, it's not, yeah, that's not the part of it. It's getting the equipment out there to level it all out. That's how that works, but, all right.
Thanks.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Marshall.
All right, just three things this evening. The first quarter of 2018, there's been a total of 14 zoning certificates issued and 2 lot splits have been filed. The breakdown is the following. There's new homes are 2, accessory structures 7, fence 1, 3 decks, and 1 rehab. And you can, public, you can read that on my zoning report, so okay, it's there. The legal notice for the Board of Zoning Appeals, I did it again. Have fun, guys, okay. Of Zoning Appeals variance hearing on April 26th was published in today's Hamilton Journal. I didn't get a copy of it, but I know it's published. And this is, just to remind you, this is a variance hearing for the Taylors who live at 3660 Millville Shandon Road. They seek a side yard setback variance in order to build a metal garage. This hearing date has also been placed on our website and the events calendar as well. Letters to the neighbors will be sent out next week. There is certified and U.S. mail giving notice of the hearing. And also the sign will be posted. There's a big sign I have to say this property is under examination of a variance to go down there next week as well. The next zoning commission meeting is April the 18th at 7 here in the administration building. That meeting, the meeting date has also been added to the township events webpage. The focus of this meeting will be to continue with the remaining definitions that were identified in February needing to be revised. When all of the remaining definitions have been revised and kind of given an approval here, the commission will announce a public meeting specifically for a formal improvement for just the definitions alone by the commission, and then we will send that revision to you for your approval. After that, it goes to the county, or there's a county in between there somewhere, okay? Unless House Bill 500 passes, then I don't have to send it to them.
That's right.
Okay. Any questions from the public or the trustees?
And that's first part of many in redoing the zoning,
Yes, the first
or
one.
updating the zoning, I should
Yeah,
say.
we will be moving to Article 7 after that. which is the big cheese part of it. Okay.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Dale?
Nope.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, first off, we, as you well know, we had some flooding last Tuesday after our 2-inch snowstorm Monday, so and another snow again Tuesday, so tipsy-turvy weather here. But in any case, most all of the flooding issues that we've had, we've either filled in the washouts along the edge of the roads, cleaned up most of the gravel that washed in the roadways, taking care of all the township roads. I don't, if there's anything left out there, it's something that's slid past me, but I believe we have all that all straightened out. Also, I went to a pre-bid meeting on a chip seal on Lehigh Road, and that was just a pre-bid meeting, just to go over what all is expected of the contractor, how he's supposed to go about bidding the projects. There was only one contractor that was there. I did not see any others, so that to me is not a good sign, so. And then I've also went to Columbus on the 28th of March for the sign grant. Pretty much all I have to do is fill out all the forms and stuff and the number of signs I need and number of posts I need and all that stuff. And I was told that we should get whatever we asked for. We can get up to $50,000, but if we replaced every sign in the township, it should only be about $20,000. So I was told by the people in Columbus that shouldn't be no issue as long as I fill out all the paperwork the way it's supposed to be. I am going to ask them for a safety audit where they come out and they look at Howard's Road, Howard's Creek Road, Shawling Road, and I'm gonna ask State Line Road now. I'm gonna ask them to do a safety audit on that to see about any additional signs, especially on the curves, to see if we need to add any signs to some of the curves, because those roads that I mentioned were the roads that one of the things that helped us to get this grant was those were the roads that had the most accidents on that were reported. And Howard's Creek Road and Howard Road had the most injury accidents on them. So that's another reason why I'm asking for the safety audit, see if there's anything can be done to, show people the curves coming up, better ways to get around, or show them around the curves better and stuff. So, and then they told me that, in asking for a safety audit, if there's any other roads that you want to add to that, and the next road that has a number of accidents on it was Shawling Road, so that's why I included it. Now, just because State Line Road on their maps is not showing accidents on it, I'm still gonna ask for that just because of what's been asked of us here tonight to see, because technically right now, there aren't any signs there. There's no signs saying dip in the road, there's no signs saying hidden drives, none of that. So I'll ask them to do that, and hopefully that by doing that audit, they can help me out and say where I need to put these signs and how many, so.
Now, do you complete that safety audit prior to applying for the sign grant? Because you may
Yes,
add more signs.
They're going to be in Warren County doing some safety audits week after next. So they're hoping when they finish in Warren County that they can come over and do them for me. I have till June 8th to get this all submitted. I've already started it, but I still got a long way to go. There's a lot of stuff to go through and try to figure out how many stop ahead, stop signs, chevrons, which chevrons are just the little like V arrow that points you around a curve, and some of the big arrows, there's some places I might need to add some arrows that don't have any. One of the places I know is on Race Lane Road, there's some chevrons, but there's no big arrows pointing to there's a turn or whatever. So.
What about the intersection, or not the intersection, the curve on Alert New London where you put the chevrons and they've been knocked down since?
I've got one big sign there, and I'm gonna put on there to add another sign, and then I'm also down where the Schweckys live. I'm gonna try to do the same on that curve down there also with chevrons and big arrows. I'm certain that I'll probably get some grief because I'm no one's asked for them down there, but I have seen evidence that people are not making that curve. So we're gonna see about doing that there, but I don't need a safety audit on that one. I've pretty much figured that one out on my own. But the one there on Howard's Creek Road, that's the reason why I'm asking for that safety audit, because I'm just not quite for sure where I know that some more needs to be put up there, just need some help on where to put them, so.
Quick
That's-
question while you're on the sign thing. We had talked about, I believe it's what, Bay Road, where that bridge is that they take out all the time? And we'd asked the county about putting signs up for that bridge. Is there any possibility of getting any of those signs on this as well? It just dawned on me.
I can ask for like the chevrons and the arrows and stuff, but the actual signs that say bridge narrow, those signs are not,
Not in that?
not on that grant.
Gotcha.
Cause I didn't ask that question, but somebody else asked for similar stuff, and they was told that those aren't the type of, all this,
Just safety signs.
the warning signs and regulatory signs is what's available in this grant, so.
Okay.
Then the last thing I have is, we've been talking about back here by the tower of putting a pad, whether it be asphalt or concrete. Well, the guys and I were talking, and we think that we can do that all ourselves. Put in a 60-foot wide by 30-foot, or however you wanna say it, 30-foot long by 60 wide, or 60 wide by 30, a 30 by 60 pad up against the west side of the tower there. That would take approximately 35 yards of concrete, $112 a yard, be $3,920 to pour a concrete pad 6 inches thick. That way we could put the cement blocks on it to put bins in, have it there so when we go to scoop up for chip sealing, we're not getting unwanted dirt and gravel and stuff like that, so.
I got float tools if you need it.
Can you float that with manual, or do you need a riding kind of float?
No, we'll do that all manually, so, cause we did a smaller pad that we have our, where we store our number 9s next to our salt shed here, that way we keep them dry all the time. We did a similar pad, and we did that all by hand, just floated it all off by hand, and then got the bull float and leveled it off, and then just put a broom finish on it. We did that one ourselves too, so. And I didn't figure out the man hours of how many hours it would take to do that, but, you know, we was thinking of doing it in 3, maybe 4 pours, that way we could, more manageable, just do one little section, let it set up, move the forms down, do another one, and, until we get our 30 by 60 pad formed there, so.
Make sure you get your building permit, okay? I don't wanna see Dale getting sideways on this.
I'll get your drawings tomorrow, Dale.
Okay, I'll have the application on your desk on Thursday, okay?
All right. So if that's all right, I would like, just to make sure we're covered, is ask for a $4,000 PO to SRM Concrete.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Motion carried.
That's all I
You
have.
putting rebarb in that?
Yes.
Good.
What's the name of the company?
SRM Concrete.
Everything go okay getting the truck?
Hmm?
Everything go okay getting the
Yep.
truck?
Everything went just fine. Sent Mark and Steve up to get it. And they said they'd only do 55 mile an hour. I said, well, you don't need to go faster than that, so that was good, so.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, Mr. Galloway.
$3,920, but I'm asking for $4,000.
Thank you.
You will see I've set the folders up a little bit now. The left side will be the admin and the right side's the fire. So we'll start off with the admin. I'll kind of finish where Rob started on the overview of the township flooding on April 3rd. So I ended up staging and pretty much being at Race Lane and Alert New London, where Dry Fork broke out at least 4 to 5 places. I would say in that intersection at one point I had water up over the tires of the vehicle, so I had to move several times. So the roads that were closed during that time, both from the Morgan Township Fire, Morgan Township Road, and then the SO roads that were either closed or impassable, were Alert New London from Chapel to west of Race Lane, Race Lane from 126 south to Buck Ridge, Okie to Drewsburg from 126 to Church Street. Church Street was closed. South Dwyer between Okie and Drewsburg and Bittersweet was closed around the gun range. Also, South Dwyer west of California was totally impassable by numerous houses surrounded by water. Howard's Creek Road, Rob, the road department, put road closed signs down there in high water. That was underwater, and Howard's Creek had broken out of its banks. And then South Weaver, the notorious area of South Weaver, north of Lehigh, was impacted again. We had 3 bridges that probably had 4 feet of water over the bridges when I was down there at one point. We did, actually Rob did, as we were assisting with him, and he was sandbagging the community center. Rob assisted with one elderly female getting out of her house. Then he had called, and we had our 2 of our folks with our water rescue gear go down to another lady's house. And once she kind of was assured that it wasn't going to raise anymore and we were right around the corner, she decided to stay in her house. So we technically did 1 rescue or 1 removal from out of the house. And then we ended up only pumping 1 basement out in that whole area her sump pump, the hose actually broke, and it was pumping the water back into her basement, so it was up to her first floor bedroom. So she unfortunately lost her whole furnace system and everything, so we pumped her basement out of that. Good job by Rob. If you saw him on the TV, which is something that we've always, back in my EMA days, we always had planned during a tornado to get the streets cleared of debris with snow plows, and Rob actually exhibited that the other day. He was pushing logs and trees and mud out of the road, both county road and township road on the Race Lane stretch. So it kind of worked as a dream I had many years ago at EMA, and Rob fulfilled that dream watching him plow mud and trees and branches. So
That was almost as much fun as plowing snow.
yeah. He sent a few logs flying. I was there to witness
How many
it. So
mailboxes you take out?
I didn't take out any
no mailboxes.
You were an excellent narrator then over that event too, because I saw you.
Well,
Gags on 5 and 12.
I had nobody else to pawn those interviews off of. They caught me. So
Chief, one question.
yes.
Down on Race Lane, in front of Mr. Anderson's house.
Yes.
It looks like the water took out his valve pit.
in his entire fence.
He's got where the water.
I saw that today. Yes.
Is that on him to refill that, or who will do that?
He left.
Is he still
He
here?
left. I think that's it'll be a
Water Association
South Water
is gonna
water.
have to fill that back in, because I did talk with Nate, who was the inspector for that, and I told him, I said, normally where the water washed out right at the edge of the road, I filled that back in just because of being right at the edge of the road. Now, the one part of the pit is in the road right away, but I says, I do not feel comfortable filling that back in because the whole water line is exposed there. And I said, I don't want to be dumping dirt down in there and it busts that water line or bust the tap off. So he said that they will take care of filling that back in because of that being so new, and that way that nothing gets busted. But I said we do need that filled in rather quickly because it is in the road right away. So.
Right, okay.
And with that being said, as I saw the water rising towards his house, I had Rob, because Rob has his number, call. We checked on him, and Rob did I remember you saying that he estimated he had 11 foot of water up to his stilts or something of that nature?
Not 11 feet. He said he had 18 inches of water right under his house.
Okay.
Because he said that, because I said it looked like it was deeper than that from the road. He goes, well, I understand that, but he said it was only 18 inches deep under his house because both of his cars were under the house, and it was just up to the rocker panels, which if that's all the further it was,
Yep.
that's about as high as I've ever seen it, so.
Yeah, but we did check on him,
Now, if he would've had something out in the yard, it'd been in the cars and stuff, but where he had them, he was safe. And then he said that he had, just a week before, he had moved his horses elsewhere, so they wasn't even there, so.
Number 2 item, Connie and myself we've discussed this a few times, and we're just giving you a heads up you have packets in your mailboxes back in your room. The health insurance comes up for renewal July 1st, and we met a company in the OTA conference, and they're going to bid on it, and you should have in the back of your, in the room, packets from Form Fire, and it's a packet you get online and fill out some general information for them to quote different plans for you. Rob and Steve and Mark have already gotten that as well. So those packets are back there in your rooms. Okay. Last one is the association has got all the levy signs, or probably 90% of the levy signs out. We had an issue today with a gentleman that called. If you get any calls from anybody about signs or blockage, just give me a call and we'll take care of them. We had an issue today and we went down and rectified it right away. So.
I have a small issue on the one that's out here. It's blocking the left view from chapel there as you're pulling out.
Okay, so Rob and I
Needs
checked
just to
that.
move
and-
back up a little bit because I have to pull too far down.
Okay.
Chief, do you have any extra of those yard signs?
Yeah, I have plenty in the car. If you would like some tonight, I have plenty. So, okay, Dale, we can take, because Rob and I put that up and we kind of thought we judged it, but we can move that back. We're working that this weekend, but thank you, yes.
That's my section.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'll be out there, Saturday doing that rest of that.
thank
Unless you
you.
want one tonight, I'm sure.
Yep,
we'll get you-
I have some tonight.
I've got some too.
Okay, excellent. That's all the administrative report. I'll move over unless you have questions over to the fireside. First one, we're going to let AC Griffith come up at the end and do the call run volume, and also he has a Indiana EMS billing issue to address. So number 1 issue is motion for firefighter paramedic Michael Flavin, his 2-year anniversary effective 4/22 of 18 at 15 cents an hour to a raise of $15.95 an hour.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Number 43-2018.
Okay, thank you. Number 2 is motion for Lieutenant Paramedic Tom Radomski-Bamba, second 2-year anniversary effective 4/22/18 at 15 cents an hour to a raise of $15.95 an hour.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion carried.
44-2018.
And I need to correct that motion. That'll be on the number 2 will be $16.95 an hour. $16.95. I need to make that correction on my motion.
Because of the lieutenant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Connie and I discovered that today.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Number 3, I talked to Connie today. We got our first Duke bill since we retrofitted the bay lights in the station with LEDs. Our bill dropped $117 for just 1 month. So if we prorate around 120, somewhere right there, that's about $1,440 a year savings. We'll pay for the retrofit of the lights in less than 3 years, basically. And I'm sure that we're going to save more than that. That was just a 1 month savings. So I'm still teaching them to turn lights off over there. So, but that's, a pretty good savings for the first month. So with the LED conversion. Down to POs. I need a PO for, we're going to go with $2,800 for national hose testing. We're thinking it's going to be more like $2,450, but we're going to go on the high side if there's some issues. National hose testing is going to come in and test all our fire hose. They're going to unload it. They're going to test it. They're going to reload it. They're going to do our ISO paperwork on it, and then they're going to supply us with records for hose testing. at 27 cents a foot. We have 5,200 foot of hose. For $24.50, it seems a whole lot more sensible to do it that way than a work comp issue pulling 5-inch out of the back of the truck, or we're doing it in the middle of and a run comes in. Third is our pump that we've had for the last 3 years, the machine that we use continues to break down, and it cost us almost this much to get it continued to fix. So it seems the most cost effective to hire National Hose Test to do the test themselves, that we don't touch the hose. We bring a truck to them, they don't touch it. We don't touch the hose. They're gonna do it right here in the back because they need a water supply, so they're gonna tie into the 1.5-inch fill hose off the station and do it right between the buildings here on April 25th.
Okay, I'll make a motion for purchase order to National Hose Testing in the amount of $2,800 for the annual. hose
It'll be annual. It was never done before, and among other tests, yes.
Annual hose testing.
Second?
Mr. Brucker?
Yes.
Mr. Kolb?
Yes.
Mr. Updike?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And one last thing to go along with that, May 1st, I'll be going to a training meeting with ISO folks about the new updated ISO. 3 years, September this year will be 3 years, and we're going to revisit ISO rating again, have them come back and inspect us again now that we're starting to put records together that hadn't been done before. And I truly think we can probably drop down to a 4, from a 5 to a 4, which will be some additional cost savings to the residents. So we're going to reapply for that in September. I have no executive session for either one, and before AC Griffith comes up, any questions for me?
Chief, any update on your equipment, the tanker that had the valve issue or the truck that had the engine issues?
Nope, we've actually been training with that reserve engine 142. We've been training with that the last couple of days, and they're saying that it runs fine and that they've been pumping it, and actually they were out today doing some pumping stuff with it and have had no issues with it. So as of now, it's all been fixed and back in service.
Great.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple things before I get to the numbers. One, is the Gov Deals coordinator. We did sell the lawnmower, the riding mower was picked up on Friday for $2,500 plus their fees, to a gentleman, so he's got that, so that's gone.
25 or 35?
25.
25.
That was the minimum that we put on it, that it had to bring that in order to sell.
And
that
it
was-
sold right at it.
We based it off of what other mowers were selling on the site, so that's what we put it at 2,500. And it had to bring that in order to sell. I was hoping it'd bring more, but that's all it brought was 25.
And that was the last day.
The very last day, it brought the 25, so I was hoping you'd bumped it up a little bit more.
I was gonna throw a bid in there but I thought, well, with my luck, nobody's gonna top it, and I'd end up with a mower I don't need.
You probably would've.
I think so.
All right, it's sold. The next thing we're putting on Gov Deals, as soon as we dig it out, are all the old air packs. That'll be our next item to go up, since we dig them out and get them. We don't think we'll get very much, but something's better than nothing. So that's, and that'll be all we have left, until something else, till Rob gets something else. Also, had a great 2 meetings ago about going into Indiana, so I just wanted to tell you, I verified with our billing company that when we go into Indiana, we can bill them at our rate, not Indiana's rate, because they don't have an ALS rate. So it will allow us to recover not what we spend, but at least something back.
But you have to transport them to Ohio.
Have to
right?
transport them to Ohio.
Right.
And that's the pharmacy board and state EMS also, but we have to transport them to Ohio. And you'll see in my run report there, we did make one ALS run into Indiana, and it did have a positive outcome. The lady was having what we call the Widowmaker, which is the LAD of her heart, 100% occluded. So we did a STEMI alert, took her to the hospital, she went to the cath lab, and she survived. So that's the kind of quality care we're providing in Indiana. But we should be able to be reimbursed for that caregiving because it's our tax dollar. So I spoke to billing, and we have that all straight now. So we'll be able to bill them, soft bill them, because hard bill is not going to work over there, but we'll be able to soft bill them and get at least their insurance. So we are getting something back. And we did make one run. That was the only run we made in Indiana last month. And to the run report, yes.
Can I interrupt you a second?
Yes.
Just, can you
Sure.
lengthy articles in the journal lately.
I saw that.
Hard bill,
Soft bill.
and there's been
So what we do is hard billing is you turn them over to the Attorney General. When you hard bill somebody, you get what their insurance has, and once their insurance, they don't have insurance, or you get what their insurance have, the difference between our set billing rates and what their insurance is called the hard bill. And you turn them either over to collections, you sell that debt, or you turn it over to the Attorney General's office for collection against their income tax or property tax or whatever. You really don't get a lot out of that for the effort. It's very little. I talked to one in Hamilton, they're getting about 6%. Now, 6% of 15,000 runs is a lot for them, but 6% of ours is not much value add. So we take the soft billing for everybody and call it a day. And that gives us the most bang for the buck. And we've not really seen any, we don't do a lot of non-residents. We mark it on our EMS run, and that's where the Westchester thing, the paramedic happened to check the wrong box and mark that lady as a non-resident, and Westchester hard bills. So they went after her for everything, and she was a resident. And that mistake can happen. It's just, they just hit the wrong drop down. But that's where that comes from. But, you know, when you look at billing, you have a lot of write-offs, and then you have a lot of adjustments because the insurance companies have agreements with the billing companies. So, you know, we bill $1,000 for an ALS2. Right now, you're getting, depending on, with Anthem, you're getting about $300. Actually, you get more right now on a BLS call, just 2 EMTs from Medicare, than you do an Anthem ALS2. It's just the way they decide what they're going to pay.
Way their contract reads, basically.
Yeah, and I check every run and for accuracy. If it's ALS 1 or 2, their coders decide that. But I also check the mileage and make sure everything is right, so we're maximizing what we can get. And I feel we do a pretty good job of that. So that's our only run there. Now, last week I sat up here and said use that Q word, and I'm not going to do that because no sooner than I went and laid my head down, we had a structure fire. The next day we had an entrapment with an air care, and then we hit about 6 EMS runs, so I'm not going to use that term. Because after I used it, and I got a lot of hate mail and hate texts from certain members of the department saying, why would you dare do that? So we had a very active month. We had one structure fire. It was an attic fire. It was 4 hours after this meeting up on Cincinnati Brookville. We had good mutual aid response, and we got that out fairly quickly. Then we had a very severe accident on Lehigh with entrapment. They had to take him out and fly that gentleman, and he had some very significant injuries. And the feedback from that was that we did such a good job, he probably shouldn't have survived, but he did because of, pre-planning, getting a helicopter coming and getting him to a trauma center. But he has some very severe injuries because he hit that tree head on. They had to get cut out. Les runs into Ross for canceled en routes. You'll notice that number should start to drop because you'll notice a grass fire on there. I responded to a grass fire with Morgan Township on the other side of 27, almost to Black Road, and Ross was never dispatched. They were in their stations. That was a dispatch. That was a dispatch error. That Chiefs worked out with Chief Miller. We have a process now to make sure at least we'll see that Ross isn't sitting in their stations while we're putting out their fires. I kept calling. I said, "Is Ross there? Ross there?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay." But we put it out and went home, and they were right up the road in Station 102. So there's a few addresses, and somehow in Ross it comes to us.
So it was Butler today? Was that a legitimate run?
That was a legitimate. That was legitimate. They were busy.
They only had 2 people on duty today.
Yeah, that was a legitimate one. But yeah, we went all the way to Ross, put out fire, and they had no clue until I told Chief, and Chief called them. So we're trying to work through those dispatch issues. Nothing else really sticks out on these unless you have questions. A lot of power line down from wind. That's really about it.
Thank you. Anything else?
I'm not using the Q word.
Yeah.
Ms. Reinhardt?
All right. I attended the Riley Township Board of Trustee meeting last week on April 4th, and I received their signature on our collaboration agreement, and then I sent the certified copy to their fiscal officer, Diane Holcomb. So I have our copy. We are all set to go whenever the weather finally clears up and Rob and the guys can get out there. I also attended the Butler County Farm Bureau Legislative Informational Meeting last Friday morning. It was very good turnout. There were lots of local politicians, some state politicians there, and representatives from Davidson and Portman's office were also there. So felt like there was a lot of good information that was given out that day. So I think I was the only fiscal officer, and the 3 Oxford Township trustees were there, and that was the only township officials that I saw. So you might keep it in mind for next year, because I know they do this every year. Yeah, Tom was going, and then he got sick, so. As the chief said, our real estate tax monies, the first half did come in on Monday into our accounts, and that is reflected in the reports that I gave you. If you look under the revenue column, you will see some pretty big numbers for all of those. I just want to caution you, that money was in our revenue budget. We knew that was coming in. It's already been accounted for. It's been appropriated. Most of it's been encumbered. So that doesn't mean that, yeah, because we got that much money in, oh goody, we've got this much more to spend. No, it's already been accounted for. There's, very little left that's just floating around out there free.
Killjoy.
Sorry, guys, that's what you hired me for. I saw Jill Evans on Friday at the Farm Bureau meeting, and she asked me to remind you that she has resigned, and we need someone or some organization to take over doing the display case out here in the hallway. She's noticed that it's not been done since she did it in November over a year ago. So I told her I would remind you. I assured her that I had brought it to your attention a long time ago, but so I'm doing as she asked and bringing that to your attention.
Any ideas?
I know at one time we talked about contacting Morgan School to see if they had an art class or something that would want to do something. Jill said that, they have lots of materials. She would be willing to work with someone as long as they got the materials back, obviously, but, and she said she would come take this display down, and I said, no, don't take it down, because then the case will be empty. Just leave it until we get it figured out. So, and then I've given each one of you the April edition of the grassroots clippings. I don't have this on here. I know you all got the email from Butler County Township Association from Bruce, and I have the check in there for our membership for the next year. So when I get the other 2 trustees' signatures this evening, then those will go out in the mail tomorrow.
Tom, do you talk to the Boy Scouts for the community center?
I do. I was thinking about that, get them to do it, because we let them use the community center for free.
Do we
That
have
or
any
maybe
other
the
groups
4-H.
4-H?
Let me talk to some of those leaders and see what we can do.
If they want to do it for a certain amount of time?
Yep.
And as the chief said, you do have information in your mailboxes in your office, the letters from Form Fire to fill out their information, as well as some other things that have come in the last 2 weeks. So make sure you check your mail.
Who's got the key for the display case?
I
Rob?
don't know, okay.
I got one, and Jill had one, so.
I don't know if you can get that back from her when she comes and gets her stuff. but
Okay.
Just so we, okay.
Dang it.
That's it.
And the only thing I wanted to bring up tonight was if there was any updates for the May effort to do the cleanup or the cars that we had talked about in the last couple of meetings. If there's anything that's been gotten onto the calendar, or, I know we didn't talk about it too much last session, but I know we were looking at sometime in May to do a cleanup event, so.
I don't think we had a date. We were talking about doing it possibly over to the summer and then giving them like a deadline of before we start to go after some of these properties, because we have quite a few that's getting out of hand.
I know one resident reached out to me and wanted to know if we were gonna have like receptacles and things like that people could drop off, like paint and tires and things like that they have around the house. And I told them that that wasn't our plan. Our plan was to get like junk cars and things like that are eyesores for the neighborhood. And there are Butler County avenues that they could pursue to dispose of like paint, tires, and things like that. So I put her in contact with that website. And I know Ross High School has a couple events down there that I don't know, I didn't know the dates, but I told her to, contact them. So that's not, I don't think that was the idea of our cleanup day.
Right.
Our cleanup day was to clean up eyesore properties that just had a lot of junk, mainly vehicles and things like that.
And I believe one thing I talked to Mr. Galloway a little bit about, and I'm still, do we do signs? Are we gonna put this on a website? How do we do it, and what are we legally allowed to do as far as spending? Like the political signs, if you put some of those out, how do we get the word out? How do we do this? This is all new to me. Some of the legal aspects, and I still haven't found everything out, is the agriculture, whether we can even touch that, whether that's off limits, on limits. I have not had the chance to research that yet. So that's all things moving forward that we need to research. And like I said, instead of going after one, we need to go after all of them. And I personally think that might be some time where we all drive around. Maybe we get addresses in this cleanup thing. Maybe we put on our site, certain, if your address is on here, you could be one that would get a notice at the end of this deadline. That would, they have a place to look. Hey, yeah, my property is there. And if they have any questions, they can call it. But that's, I think this is a bigger thing than just, here, do it, we're going. I think there's a lot that needs to go in this to do it right.
I think we talked about, and maybe getting the input from Dale, is an informative package of what constitutes a junk car, so they know and educate the citizens, giving them that block of whatever months, weeks you guys decide, but have something educational to say what constitutes a junk car in Morgan Township that has to be removed, or what constitutes a junk trailer, whatever.
I think a lot of
And that knowledge that Dale and I can work on, but again, how do you disperse that out to everybody for that educational process?
Yeah, it might be a little bit easier than that, because I'm not really thinking about the junk cars yet. I'm thinking more about the bags of garbage that are sitting around some of the homes. So what we could do is we could identify those and then reach out to those people and say, we'd be glad to help you get rid of some of this stuff. And I know we've had a couple neighbor complaints, and I've talked to the neighbors, and I said, well, are you on good terms with your neighbors? And the answer is yes. So my question is, if the neighbors are on good terms with their neighbor, that's an in for us to be partners with their neighbor and them to help them. And I know there's a couple high priority targets right now to try to just break the ice and to make a difference right now. So what I could offer perhaps is if we could, if Chief, as you and your team are out, and Rob and you and your team are out, if you could let us know which the addresses look like we would want to try to reach out to these people, then we could take it on as an outreach. And I would recommend, everybody loves the fire department. So if somebody from the fire department shows up, they know they're there to help. So as opposed to having somebody just dressed in street clothes show up and being an affront to these folks, if the fire department is part of this, then it's a whole different confrontational scenario.
I don't think that's a
How are
good
we
idea.
gonna help them? I mean, we're not gonna dispose of stuff for them.
I don't want.
What we could say is do you have garbage service? If Rumpke comes by your house.
Hold on 1 minute before you go any farther. When you start garbage and you talk junk cars, you're talking.
I'm not talking junk cars. I'm talking just garbage.
All
Just
right.
things that can be carried
Well, just hold on.
to the road.
Listen. With the junk cars in the ORC, that's one whole different section. When you start doing garbage, now you're going into, I can't think of I'll blank on the word. The healthcare, Board of Health, there we go. I could think of it, couldn't say the word. So you got two totally different entities and two totally different processes. So,
Brett, you cannot, as a trustee or as a township, on the private property.
oh, I know that, you don't want them, because the fire department, I don't want someone, some people are gonna get totally mad and totally aggravated that we do this, they think they're fine. And what other people think it's not. You involve them, now they get a call, you've got an argument. They have to stay neutral and clean out of this. You do not wanna involve your fire department doing that.
So you're saying you don't, the fire department can't be a face to the community? Yeah, other, and anything
No,
else
that's
other
not-
than a
when you-
fire?
When you're doing this, you're gonna have people that are aggravated. A lot of people won't have no problem, but you're gonna put them in predicaments. And that's not what they're here for, that's a total different source. Chief, am I wrong
I
on it?
would be very cautious about going on people's property.
Yeah, that's a
But I will
whole-
say that we have a mechanism to address, is we'll get, this is one of the main times of the year now, is we get people burning leaves, and we get a call for a
Garbage.
burn complaint, and we go and they're burning garbage. And the minute we get there officially, because we've been called, is here is the Ohio EPA and all those burning rules and the violations, and you can only burn natural vegetation, no garbage. This all needs to go out at your, on your roadside, because there is a garbage service in Morgan Township that is offered, then you have to put it out there. So that's how we address people that burn garbage and all, and things of that nature by that. But my guys would not be comfortable going out and going on the properties and looking for garbage and all that. I mean, can we see it going by on a road, on a call, make a note of it? You know, I can do that. I'm not gonna ask my guys where to do that, but I can do it as much as I'm out each day. But as long as, if I'm not mistaken, as long as a garbage service is offered, then they have the right to put it out there, or they don't have the right to put it out there, but it's on their private property. I don't know where the rules go from that.
Well, they have to contract with the private.
Now, junk cars, because it's in the zoning, but just random garbage, that'd be a can of worms I don't know if you wanna open, because you're gonna make some folks really.
If I remember right, that all goes
They
back
get
to the
mad,
Board of
just
Health.
we go there and tell them they can't burn anything other than natural vegetation, they get pretty mad.
There is an ordinance out there, and that's where you get that word offal. Offal is garbage. And I was trying to think of what that number is, but I just offhand don't remember it anymore. It was 3 something.
I'd have to go pull it back up, I don't remember it, but that's what I'm saying, when you kinda gotta watch how wide, I'm not saying we don't wanna get rid of the garbage, but there's different ordinance and there's different procedures for each and every one.
You also have to be careful, because the money that pays the salaries for our firefighters, it definitely says this is for EMS and firefighter purposes, and collecting garbage is not, part of that EMS service. And we could get, I think, there could be a problem there if we're using money.
Especially if we're going after a levy.
Yeah,
Well, then we'd be kind of back to just a notification in the mail, sending a letter from zoning or wherever the appropriate office would be, to say that you either, there's a compliance issue, or.
Well, that's kinda where I'm going there. Usually when you go to the garbage, that has to come from the Board of Health. When you do the junk cars, that comes from the trustees. That's what I'm saying, there's different rules and different ways each one's gotta be handled. And if you lump them all together, that's gonna be a real. Yes, sir?
Could you send out flyers to everybody through the post office?
That's just
Well,
what I was gonna
that's
say.
a possi-
Maybe, have Rumpke, maybe get a PO, and have Rumpke set a couple dumpsters out here, and maybe people bring larger items and stuff that they just don't set out for the trash, and they will throw them in a dumpster.
Well, the only problem is if you do that, they're gonna bring all their garbage here all the time.
Well, the issue we're having though out where we live, people are setting out TVs, appliances, and I don't know, if Rumpke hasn't been contacted to pick it up when they pick up the garbage or separately. But it'll sit out there for weeks and months in people's driveways.
And that's kinda where the ordinance go, that they need to clean it up. I guess here's my question, do you wanna pay for their garbage to be
I don't
picked
wanna
up?
pay for
Because
the
it'd be your
garbage, but
tax
I don't
money
like
that does that.
rats and raccoons
I mean, if you think about it, and I don't mean that meanly, but I pay for my garbage, I don't really wanna pay for everyone else's garbage, and I don't think you want your money paying to clean up everybody else's yard as well. But there's these ordinance, here's what you need to do, and yeah, we can go after them in certain circumstances.
So here's how we did the levy, and I'll just kind of throw this out. I'm sure everybody here got a levy envelope, and it's stamped on it, levy, import levy information on it. We sent out, I think there's 3,000 registered voters, something like that. We did that, we sent it to a printer that we found, I think it's in Fairfield. They printed them in color, they folded them, because Lord knows we didn't want to do that again. Put them in the envelope. Patrice was there, no, it wasn't fun. Loaded in the envelope, put the stamp on it, stuck that, they said whatever you want on the envelope to get the attention of the people to open it, we'll stamp it on there. And for the 3,000 people, or somewhere in that 2,000, whatever registered voters are, I think it cost us $1,600. Now, if you did it to all the residents, you know, you're maybe doubling that money, but you could put an informational flyer out there that says, here's the Oregon zoning ordinances and junk cars and garbage and all that, have it, and then put something really attractive on the front of the envelope, you know, like, whatever you guys come up with, that's important information to hear about junk cars or whatever, and send it out. That might be your most cost effective, because Lord knows, open house, it cost us damn near $1,000 to put 6 of those signs on corners for 2 weeks, the black background and all that. It just, it's the hardest way in the township to communicate with all the residents, and we found now that flyer in the mail is probably the cheapest thing to do. And the other thing we found is for the open house, is sending a flyer out with each kid's backpack on a certain day at school, because they're all Morgan residents.
Well, here's my next
So,
question, are we
that's the
legally allowed
most-
to do that?
Send out a thing
A
for
flyer from the township?
Done it before.
Have you done it before?
A lot of times.
Just because we've done it doesn't always mean it's legal, that's why I wanna,
I'm sure
Do it
we
and pay for
will.
forgiveness later, when somebody tells you
I'm
you do
sure
it.
we will ask the prosecutor.
yeah,
I mean, who would you check with?
Prosecutor,
Prosecutor.
attorney.
But it's informational, it's not mandatory.
Right.
Okay.
I
Information.
don't think it'd be any different than a newsletter.
when is the possibility of that, intern from Miami coming?
The end of May, first week in June.
Okay.
Right, has trustees given any idea to having a spring cleanup day every year at the same time? And I mean, this would be like your first year. And some communities do this, where if you have something that you don't want any longer, you put it on the edge of the road. And then it's up to the township to come around and pick that stuff up, or hire people to come pick it up. Now, wait a minute.
I know.
And
Go talk to
the
Ross
thing
Township
is-
first.
Or Wyoming.
Is that it puts it off the road, you don't have to go in their yard because you're crossing the line and you're going to people's yards. And you start out big, small, and then expand it to other parts of your community.
All right, who's gonna pay for all that? Cause when you start putting hazmat and tires and all that,
Well, you can explain, just like Butler County does when they take refuge and their recycle days, and then what you will accept and what you won't accept. And sending it out through kids is a cheap way to do it.
City of Oxford did that. They did that for years, for move-out days for students. And it got to where they were getting everything under the sun in it, so they stopped it just because of the hazmat issue. Rumpke wouldn't take it.
You have, the first couple of years, you
But
have to
if they're
explain.
sitting out there unmanned, you're gonna get anything and everything. You're
Well, that's what I said, do it in a small area and then move to another area. Maybe it has to be the month of spring cleaning, and today you're gonna do Lehigh Road, and tomorrow you're going to go to Race Lane, things like that.
Teresa.
Another avenue that, and they actually do a lot of informational advertising in the newspaper and stuff, is Solid Waste Authority. Solid Waste Authority will actually have a drive-through here with a dumpster for paints and all that, and they actually will go out, it's Ann Fear Flag, and they'll actually
reach out and,
Butler County had a big grant for that, and they did it for a
Yeah,
five-year
they
period.
had it, I think once a month they had it at the engineer's office where they're taking computers, electronics and all that stuff.
That's on the Butler County website. That's the what I told that lady that called me.
Yeah.
Butler Rural Electric, I think, does it twice a year. Maybe you could do it hand in hand with either Butler Rural or when Ross School has their cleanup, that you could put that in the flyer that says to get rid of tires and large, paint and large items that Monkey won't take without paying for it. They could take them to the Ross School, the rest,
I think, some research and looking and
Yeah, we can
seeing
look
what we're
into
getting her into before we just jump. But yes, I'm not opposed to it. Teresa?
Another thing that you could put on your website, I'm sorry, but because I'm in the process of doing what I'm doing at my house, I have a lot of stuff that needs to be shredded. If we could incorporate with Channel 12, and they put it out there, that you bring things that you want shredded, you take it to the furniture, the fair,
Furniture fair.
fair on a certain day in a box, and they will shred it for a donation from each person. Why can't we take that information and just expand it through your website? All we're telling people is where it is. You're not touching it, you're not going to, now it's all paper, granted, but once I retire from this job, I tell you what, I have it on paper.
I will too.
LC&B also does shredded days at different branches. I mean, I could get that schedule from Lenora.
I've got like the Butler County and that kind of stuff on our website now, so I can expand that. Give me some dates.
Maybe start there, that comes out of people's houses, and then you can start thinking about stuff that's in their side yard and their backyard and that type of thing, tires.
Well, that might be one thing we do on our flyer. We're gonna start putting this where they have drop-off sites. As we get the information, keep checking our website, and that's something we gotta put together. It's not gonna happen over one meeting, it's not gonna happen here. I think there's good issues, different things, and like with the garbage, maybe there's different avenues, but just so you know, there's different ways to do that. You gotta kinda watch. But I think this is something big, and it's not gonna happen overnight, but I think we can start working on it and putting more stuff together.
Right. That's all I've got.
Teresa?
I know the city of Wyoming has actually a pickup week. Anything that you don't want, like a couch or a chair, they put at the curb. Everybody knows what this week is because it's on their website. People drive through, and a lot of college kids do this. They do it at the time of the year on purpose. College kids come by, take it, put it in their truck, and go. Anything that's left at the end of that week, that following Monday, Goodwill comes by and picks up for free. But you have to deal with it for a week,
It's all different ideas we can look into and see.
Yeah.
Do they have their own city, Wyoming?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, so that's a plus for them as well.
right, yeah,
And Goodwill's right up the street.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Tom, you got anything?
I do. I was contacted by Sarah Glob from Ross Occupational Health. She's requesting a list, I'm glad you're here. She's requesting a list of our DOT and non-DOT people that we want to put through random drug testing. I talked with the chief, and he said that none of his folks actually go through it unless they're involved in an accident. So are we just talking Rob's crew? So who are our non-DOT people that she's referring to?
Non-DOT, we used to do, Chief was on a random as well, because he's a full-time employee.
Tomorrow
Sorry.
morning, 8 o'clock.
I'm okay, I don't know about the former one, but I'm okay.
Good answer.
Speaking of that, medical cards, all that good with your guys? Keep those up.
All right, so Rob, is it just your guys?
Yes.
and the chief?
Yep.
Okay. I'll send her
Should
that
be it.
list, and then what randomly, how often did you do it, Daryl?
It's nobody. The last time was nobody.
She just randomly does it?
There's other,
They're in a pool and there's a computer
there's other
system and
people
this
on the
computer will
besides us.
pull.
Oh, so it's everybody. Okay, it's just not, okay.
We used to be with, a conglomerate with all the townships in the county.
Mhm.
And we had to go through, and we went through, Mercy South Hospital, or Mercy Hospital. But that got to be where it was ungodly expensive. So somehow or another, I think, I don't know how, but somehow we ended up with Ross Medical Center in a conglomeration with them, with truck drivers and stuff.
We go down there and it was a lot cheaper because we fell under the same boat and the prices out there were getting outrageous. You can get the same one down here
But
for a lot
with
better.
them, it's not just it's all kinds of CDL people, and there are other townships and there are cities, but it's also just companies that have their drivers in it, so there's all kinds of CDL drivers that are in this pool, and the computer just picks you out. It was like 1 year, I went 2 times in 1 year, but then I haven't been for 5 years, I'll be going tomorrow, so.
All right, so it's just 4 of you, right?
and the
Yeah.
fire department C has no CDLs because we're
Right.
exempt.
You're
so-
exempt.
But
Wasn't Ed on that?
He was.
but he used to be he used to drive their truck,
Yeah, right, okay.
but Dale doesn't have a CDL.
He's not
Okay.
driving any of the
So just those
vehicles.
4.
Just
Okay,
those
great.
4.
That's all I needed.
That's it. All right, couple things I had. One, Pam, you already took care of, because you had called me and then we dealt with that issue. Also, you mentioned Buell Road and Mr. Ivy's place with the, tile. I got a hold of Scott Bressler, actually, he called me back. That will be our issue. So if that tile is not in correctly, then we need to write him a letter stating that he can either fix it, or we'll give him a certain amount of time. If he does not fix it, then we take it, pull it back out, and we make that a ditch.
That's the easy part. Now, how do we go about the gravel washing down off the hill into the roadway? Because we also have another place.
Other one on Bell Road?
Where it's doing the same thing. And both of them were major issues during this last extreme flooding. Both of, Mr. Ivy ended up cleaving the gravel off the Buell Road himself. Now, that wasn't that big a deal because it was a dead-end road. It wasn't near the traffic nor the speed on that road. However, Bell Road was a big deal because it had massive amounts of water flowing over the road. People come down off the hill and all of a sudden there's a foot of water flowing across with debris and rocks.
Let me ask this question, and this may have variance on this. Is this something that happens all the time where we have rock and debris across, or is this just the one-time things when we have this massive flooding?
So the bottom part of Bell Road, this is every time we have a significant rain where ditches are flowing heavily, this happens.
But Beale Road's just once or twice on the real major rains.
The major rains, like what this one was, the 3 to 4 inches of rain in however short a time it was. But that one on Bell Road, it literally follows.
It's right by the
creek
curve, right?
Right to her driveway, and then it follows her driveway all the way to the road, and there's a creek right next to her driveway, but it's not flowing in that, it's flowing in her driveway and right out into the road. And we put a catch basin in there at the lady's request to try to have a place to catch some water and stuff, but.
Is she on the north side of the road or the
Yes,
south?
she's on the north side.
Well, then I looked at the wrong one, because I thought you were talking when it went across the road. So I looked at, and you
It does
told me
go
that,
across the road. It goes from her house on the north, if you're coming down the hill, so you're coming down the hill and you're going towards 748, her place is on the left-hand side.
I looked on the other side of the house with the bus.
Oh, okay,
I misunderstood where you were saying.
okay. Because it basically comes out of her driveway, crosses into basically the property where that bus is sitting there, but it drops into the creek before it gets, but it's going across the road, and that, it washed a big gully out right at the edge of the road, and we had to put about 4 tons of riprap in
Buell Road.
Buell Road and Ivy's, that's the one, and then
I think we should write him a letter about the tile and give him a certain amount of time. Maybe ask that he tries to fix that driveway, cause it's not something that happens all the time, but there's been complaints.
yeah,
Your thoughts?
I've got them on my email, if after the
Tom?
meeting you guys wanna see the pictures that the neighbors
Thoughts
sent
on
me,
that?
I can
Or do you
show
wanna go look at it and we can redress it the next meeting? Cause I looked at the wrong property on Bell, cause I thought it was
Let's go
the
look at
other side of the road and coming down, and the way you described it went across the road. Well, I'm thinking, come down the other way, but
Let's go look at it.
we wanna go
Okay.
look at both of those?
Yeah, I think so.
But I think I'll work on a letter for Ivy's, and then we can tweak it.
Let me look through see if I got any pictures of Bell Road, I don't think I do, 'cause
You sent me the one picture of Buell, but not Bell.
Yeah, I saw Buell.
yeah, 'cause, the one homeowner, Mike Mallory sent me pictures of everything at its worst before it was cleaned up.
Then we also got, to change the subject off of that. You remember the guy's name that lives in the trailer there, Alert New London in Cincinnati, Brookville, that he called me and he called you twice?
He never left his name,
See, I'm trying to remember if he left me the name too, cause he talked to me for about 45 minutes.
'cause I got his number off the caller ID, but he did not leave a name. No, but
He lives-
in that trailer where Gibby Owens lived, but it's not Gibby Owens.
He was complaining that the creek behind the house of, it's not Reinhardt's, it's, Burwinkle's, washed out part of his garden, and that he planted a bunch of stuff there. But I had a hard time figuring out where he was, cause he told me he lived at Lehigh in Cincinnati, Brookville. And I'm like, wait a minute, there is no Lehigh in Cincinnati, Brookville, unless you get all the way into Ross. I said, are you in Ross? And I finally figured out, he figured out it's Alert New London. So it took me a while to figure out where he lived.
Have you had any dealings with him yet, Joe?
Yeah, that's the lunch. My dog died though, but our dog, he called us up and said that our dog, when Jennifer was walking, defecated on his, mailbox.
On his mailbox?
Or by his mailbox.
Oh, by his mailbox.
It's a big dog.
I mean, we didn't, but
What's his name?
I can't remember. I can find out. It's-
Cause I bet you we talked for 45 minutes, and I thought he said his name at the beginning, but I was driving, so I couldn't write nothing.
Last year in his garden, he was out there at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning doing something with a flashlight. Now, I'm telling you, that is weird.
He said he lost $1,500 worth of plants, is what he told me.
Well, that creek comes up, you know.
Well, that, yeah, that's,
We put out a huge garden, we don't spend near
I don't either.
500.
I don't either.
Little Joe could say, but I lost $1,500 in oil cans.
Well, I don't tell him, but I'm glad it backs up there because it saves people.
Well, I suggested that he did raised bed gardening, and then the water wouldn't have washed it out, but he did, he said, well, that's more money. I was like, well,
They're not gonna do anything about it.
I can't, it's on
He says
private.
that we could bring in bulldozers and track hoses, like, yeah, but that costs money, who's gonna pay
It's
for
not
that?
even your road, it's New Haven Road, there's those culverts there, they could clean that out maybe.
Well, he's talking about the creek that goes through the field.
Well,
It does, it
he's
goes,
saying
backs up over that area, his garden was underwater, but everything was underwater.
Everything was, yeah,
I know, you know,
so,
he was telling us how that our zoning allowed much of furniture to build in the floodplain, and that should never been allowed.
it went a little deeper than that, but I'm not going into it in the public meeting.
Yeah, he was a little more colorful with his words, so.
A lot more colorful.
yeah. That's all I can say, I just mind my own business, you know?
The only thing I got is, let's put more ideas together, start putting stuff together on the cleaning thing. We'll bring it all together and start, cause I don't think it's gonna be something we do in next meeting and we're done. I think that's gonna be a continual thing and keep bringing stuff. If you You guys agree, disagree?
Hey, real quick, one thing that I forgot to bring up is, the Board of Health called about the mosquito dunks. Ed kinda took care of that last year. Do we know if there's still any of those left?
Yes.
Last I
There's
heard,
a
they were in
bunch.
that closet.
They're in that closet, there's a bunch of them in there.
Cause this guy wants to know if we have any left, how many we have left, if we need more, cause they're trying to get geared up for mosquito season,
Do
obviously.
they have a shelf life? Are these okay, or?
I don't know. I'll call
Yeah,
him
ask
back and
him.
ask him, and I'll tell him how many we have left.
Yeah, they're in that
Well, we'll
closet.
look after the
They're in that
meeting, because
closet.
if they're in that
They're in
closet.
there.
They
Unless
know of.
somebody
If
did
they're,
something
if
with
they're
them, that's
good,
where they
then
were.
we're fine, but there's a lot,
And then
there
he
was a
wants
lot.
to know if we're willing to continue to distribute those.
Quite honestly, we had very few people that even picked any up.
I'll put it on the website.
What are they for?
They're mosquito dunks, so like if you have a pool of water that you put these in it, and they're supposed to kill the larvae of the mosquitoes to try to cut down the mosquito population. So if you have a
Low-lying
stagnant
area that holds water.
pool of water that you know of,
Or if your neighbor
this
has
dump in it.
tires,
or if there's old tractor tires that have water in it, throw them in that and they kill the mosquitoes. So they're free of charge. Just, if you want some, I'll get them for you, so.
Do you guys ever put any information in the Venice Cornerstone?
costs us money.
Costs us money. We've usually been doing most of the stuff on the website, and we've been, actually, our website is, I don't know, has Chris ever got the newer version yet?
He's working on
I
it.
know we're working on getting one where we can expand it and do more. We have approved that. It's just not there yet.
And that's just Morgan Township Trustees.
No, it's morgantownship.org, spelled
Morgan
out.
Township.
Morgan,
Your part trustees portion.
yeah, there's tabs at the top. There's fire, there's zoning, there's road maintenance, there's trustees, there's the
We have the community center on there with a calendar when it's free, if you want to rent, different stuff like that. We're trying to get it bigger, better. It's just, I'm not a computer guy, so that's kind of not my forte. But we have others that can do that.
When I was a trustee, I just bought my own dunks and went around the township as a trustee, and if somebody called, my neighbor over here's got 60 million tires. So here, want a couple of dunks, throw them over there, they don't have a problem. She said, well, if somebody's out there willing to give them to you guys,
And the Board of Health does.
I would
Yeah.
think that would be an awesome thing.
Want some?
What was the public told? This is the first I've ever heard of.
It was in a meeting.
I know Ed brought them to a meeting
Yeah,
and said he
they
was
sat
giving
back
them
there on
out.
the
There,
table
you took
for-
some, didn't you? You got some, didn't you?
Must have been.
I got some.
And
They
I
sat
think
back
that
there
was
on
the
the
end of,
table.
I'll put it on the
For a month.
website. Let me know if they got a shelf life, and if we get more, and when they come in, I'll put it on the website.
I'll let you know.
Why don't you do a cleanup day somewhere down the road? It'd be a good opportunity to pick up the trash. Here, you want some dunks? And they were. I put them in my ditch out there in front of my house.
anything else?
Yeah, one more thing, talking about the website, let's try to nail down what we're gonna do in May for our meetings. Our normally scheduled meeting is the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. The second is the 8th, which is election day, so we cannot have our meeting then. So for timing, for your checks, would it be better to do the 1st and then do the 15th and rearrange both of these days?
No, because we're just gonna have a meeting on the 24th. I won't,
You won't have any. All right.
no, not enough to.
So do we go to a Wednesday? Do we skip it?
Well, Monday's gotta be open because of
Right.
the,
We can't do, yeah, we
Can't
can't
do
do
Monday.
Monday either.
Right, the 7th.
Right.
So do we move it to Wednesday and keep it in the same week frame, or do we bump
I
it to
think-
15th and 29th?
I say you keep the second one the same, just because of the way the checks and everything fall.
Yeah.
If you do the one, we change either Wednesday or we eliminate it altogether.
I think there, personally, I hear complaints when we skip a meeting, then I hear complaints from department heads that there's too much to cover, we shouldn't be skipping meetings because then there's,
The next meeting goes forever.
the next meeting goes forever.
Throw it under that bus.
I didn't say which ones, I hear it from everybody, so,
Why don't we try for Wednesday then?
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
any other day but Wednesday. possibly do that.
Thursday?
May 10th is the
Wait a minute.
Township Trustee Association.
Yeah.
When is your meeting?
My
third
meeting is the
Wednesday?
third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday.
The zoning is the third Wednesday of the month. So that would be, in this case, the
16th.
16th.
That would be the 16th.
And May 10th is the Township Trustee Association.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you wanna do like the 14th. It's the Monday after, it's the week after, but then we'll do 2 weeks in a row, but
You wanna just do the 15th and 29th?
I'm fine with that.
That's fine by me.
That way
The
we,
29th is gonna be right after Memorial Day.
Right,
I do the 15th and the 22nd, we'll just go week to week. Cause we couldn't do the 1 week because of the election, so just
Right.
keep the other meeting where it is.
I won't be here the 22nd. I'll be in Canada.
You'll be in Canada.
That's why I was trying to.
Well,
move
how
around.
about the 15th and the 24th? That kind of spreads us out a little bit.
Yeah, let's see if I'm back on the 24th.
What happens when you work?
Yeah, I'll be back on the 24th. We can do that.
So the 15th and the 24th. You'll have to put that on the website
Okay.
And you guys are still gonna have to come in
and sign
that
checks.
second week and sign checks. I'll let you know when I have enough to.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody? No?
Nope.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second motion. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Mr. Brucker,
Yes.
Mr. Kolb,
Yes?
Mr. Updike.
Yes.
We are adjourned.